Hi, everybody. Welcome to Mormonish. I'm Rebecca,
And I'm Landon.
and this is a new kind of an episode for us, isn't it, Landon?
Yes, it is. It should be fun.
It should be, it should be interesting. We are diving into a mystery, aren't we? We're going to be solving a
We're
puzzle. Do you
sleuths.
have a here? Neither of our flashlights work, but we're still going to be sleuths. I've always admired Nancy Drew since I was a kid, so I was kind of excited to look into this. So the title of our episode is $2 Million Donation from the LDS Church to the First Americans Museum was returned. There's a question mark there, isn't there, Landon?
There seems to be some question. We can't find out what happened to $2 million.
That's right. That's where our flashlights that don't work come in, right? We're going to put the flashlights away and we're going to use brain power. That's what we're going to do. So let's go to our first slide and let's figure out what is going on here. So last summer, back in June, and I will say that we have been kind of working on this story throughout the summer, and then it seems like things got in the way as far as being able to do the episode, like temples, right? Cody and Heber, Tim Ballard happened. I mean, all these things happened that kind of shifted our focus. So we've kind of had this ready to go for a while. We're really excited to be able to present it now. So back in the summer, there was a lot of buzz. Most of you probably saw it around the International African American Museum in Charlottesville, South Carolina. And that opened on June 24th, as I said, 2023, last summer. I'll read this little blurb about it. So especially our listeners who can't see these gorgeous pictures that are up here of this beautiful museum will kind of know what's going on. The International African American Museum, known as the IAAM, is a museum of African American history located in Charlotteston. I'm not even able to speak at this point. Charlotteston, South Carolina, on the site where, how do you pronounce that? Gadsden?
Gadsden's.
Gadsden's Wharf. Yes, I should know that. The disembarkation point of up to 40% of all American enslaved persons once stood. Construction of the IAAM began in January of 2020 after 20 years of planning. So this was a pretty big deal, and a lot of us read about this and thought this is really amazing. The pictures are just beautiful. So the other thing that we learned about this IAAM that opened was, why don't you read this headline for us, Landon?
Yeah, the church donates $2 million to the International African American Museum. Elder Bednar presents the donation at Roots Tech.
That's right. And this was back in February of 2019. And I actually remember this press release. Do you remember this at all?
I remember the fist bump.
Yeah.
Bednar looking all cool.
Yeah.
The old
Yeah, people picked up on that picture. And for those of you who are listening, Roots Tech is a big conference, a genealogical conference. And at that particular conference back in 2019, Elder Bednar presented a $2 million check to the IAAM. And there's a wonderful picture of him fist pumping, I believe, one of the
Is
directors
that Michael
or some other
Moore? I
person,
think that might be the director.
the director of the museum. I think it probably is. So anyway, so very exciting news. And there were a lot of articles about that at the time. And also a lot of articles now that the museum has just opened. And if we go to the next slide, we can find out what this $2 million donation was used for. It was used for a Center for Family History, a family search center. The news said, and these are all from the church's press release, the museum, which opens to the public on June 27th, this is 2023, contains a Center for Family History supported by Family Search International of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. In 2019, the Church of Jesus Christ donated $2 million, so they're reminding us of their donation, to help build the center, an important resource for the study and advancement of African American genealogy with connections to Africa and the African, how do you pronounce that, Landon?
Diaspora is how I say
Diaspora. That's what I thought. I've heard it pronounced a couple different ways. So
it.
I guess we should have reviewed that before we came on the podcast. I'm sure in the comments people will say, this is how you say it. Exactly. With church support, the International African American Museum opens in Charlotteston. That is the title. The museum is a sacred site and includes a center for family history supported by Family Search. So that was the purpose of the $2 million donation, is to open this beautiful Family Search genealogical center right in the heart of the museum.
My understanding is that it's actually staffed by Mormon missionaries
Yes,
inside the
we did.
museum.
Yes, we did understand that service missionaries are staffing the museum, or I think maybe senior couples. Yep, I think that was mentioned somewhere. So let's go to our next slide where we dive in a little bit more, and I'll have you read that, Landon. Tell us a little bit more of the background of the donation to the IAAM and the Family History Center.
When Elder David A. Bednar of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles presented the $2 million check in 2019 to then IAAM CEO Michael Moore, the apostle called the effort a perfect partnership. On Friday in Charleston, Family Search CEO Stephen Rockwood echoed those words when he said the church's support of the IAAM fits perfectly with Family Search's goal to help people learn the truth about their roots. Interesting. I wonder if it helps them learn the truth about how the church treated
No,
African
we're not going to
Americans.
go there at all. No, we are not going to go there. Continue reading, please.
One of the things I've really appreciated about the relationship with the church is that the Center for Family History has become the not so hidden gem of the museum, Matthew said. We get as many questions about the center itself as we do about all the other galleries and objects and artifacts. Connected with that expertise, that really valuing of individual stories, we tell a big picture, a story of nations, of communities. But to have partners like the church that also value the stories of individuals and are earnestly connected to helping people find their own stories, it's going to be an invaluable steadying space for us as we ride the waves of our growth.
So very positive future for the museum, and also for, I think it says the not so hidden gem right in the middle of it, this amazing Family History Center. So we were reading all these articles toward the end of the summer about this new museum, and we would be discussing it with friends, and we were talking to one particular person. If we can go to our next slide. Oh, a little bit more about the museum first. Go ahead.
We believe this museum is a sacred place, Rockwood said. We love it when any experience can be powered by Family Search, even if you don't see our name anywhere. If we can power those sort of experiences just because of the access that we're able to provide, I think that's a worthy job to be doing. The church's work with the IAAM, Rockwood said, is a manifestation of living out Jesus's two great commandments to love God and love one's neighbors.
There it is. So like I said, a very positive future, and everybody is talking about this museum. It's big news, and it's exciting that the church is a part of it. So as we were talking to friends, somebody mentioned, and they said, what did they say, Landon?
They said, have you heard about the First Americans Museum?
They did say that. And I have a slide here. It's supposed to be kind of like a Watergate deep throat kind of. I don't think our friend smokes, but we have a picture of somebody in a parking garage. Yeah, somebody just said, well, have you guys ever heard about the First Americans Museum? And I had not heard of it. Had you, Landon,
No.
when our friend brought it up? I hadn't either. So we kind of asked him, well, what do you mean? What do you mean about the First Americans Museum? And our friend told us the church gave a $2 million donation to the First Americans Museum to build a family history center, but the family history center was never built. So as soon as we heard that, I know that's exactly what we said. We both went, right? We kind of put on our sleuthing hats. So let's see if we can look like this slide. I'll go like this. You look that way. Did we do it? I don't think we look like them at all. Anyway. This slide just kind of represents, we decided, well, that is a really interesting story. And I had never heard that from anybody else before. So we thought we'd just do a little digging and see if we can figure out what had happened in this scenario, or if indeed that was the truth, because our friend was like, this is what I heard. I don't know for sure. So we thought, okay, we're on the case, right? Get your flashlight out. We are on the case. All right. So we started to research the First Americans Museum. And I have to say, the pictures of this museum are absolutely gorgeous. It was just a pleasure to be able to research this, just to be able to look at the incredible artwork and the museum and the grounds and the architecture. Absolutely gorgeous. So the First Americans Museum, at 175,000 square feet, the new First Americans Museum, FAM, FAM are the initials, in Oklahoma City is the largest single building tribal culture center in the country, honoring Oklahoma's 39 tribal nations and housing the National Native American Hall of Fame. The museum opened this month, and that's not this month. We found out that was back in 2021.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The museum opened this month after 3 decades of planning and a design process that strove for an architectural masterpiece that would be meaningful to the tribes represented within it. And that was from the Smithsonian Magazine of September 2021. So, and again, it is a beautiful museum. I hope to be able to go visit there someday because it's just gorgeous. So yes, there is a museum. It does exist and it's in Oklahoma. We found that out first, right?
Yep.
Yep. So then we started to dive into all of these articles. Why don't you read that headline and this article here?
Yeah, this was all, seems like it was all over the place. A lot of happy faces, greeting people, shaking hands. Thank you for the money. It says church's $2 million donation to Oklahoma's First Americans Museum will help reconnect Native American families. In his Sunday afternoon devotional broadcast to Latter-day Saints in Oklahoma and Kansas, President Russell M. Nelson referenced the church's $2 million donation made earlier that day to the First Americans Museum in Oklahoma City. The gift from the church will strengthen Native American and other families by creating within the museum a family search center, he said. This center will make it possible for visitors to the museum to receive help in preserving personal histories, searching for ancestors, and building their own family trees. Just a few hours before the member devotional, Elder Kyle S. McKay, a general authority, 70, and a member of the North America Southwest Area Presidency, presented the church's gift during a reception at the recently opened museum. And that's from the church
news.
It
is. That's right. That's from the church news. And there's a picture with a check and Kyle McKay, the church historian, presenting it, and it clearly says that it's going to be used to build a family history center. And that's sort of why we went through our slides at the beginning, to show you what it was intended for, what it should be, exactly what it is at the IAAM. The same thing, the same amount, the same donation, and for the same purpose. So everybody looks really excited in this picture. Let's go to the next slide. This gives us some more detail about what happened. It sounds like it was a weekend of pomp and circumstance, like a really big event.
The museum, which honors many Native American Indian tribes, will use the gift to build a family search center and fill other needs. The center will include digital interactive exhibits for Native American families. Many will be able to learn more at familysearch.org. Family Search is the church's nonprofit genealogy arm. James Pepper Henry, director of First Americans Museum, said that Native Americans have been moved around so much from different places that a lot of our families have lost contact with each other. Having a center here is a way for us to connect our families together again. First Americans feel the yearning to find their ancestors, and we feel with other family search technology, we can make this happen, Elder McKay said. We are donating our expertise and consultants who can build a center suited to the needs of the museum. President Russell M. Nelson said the new Family Search Center in Oklahoma will make it possible for visitors to the museum to receive help in preserving personal history, searching for ancestors, and building their own family trees. He also said the First American Museum should remind each of us of our own ancestors and of our deep gratitude for those who have come here from many different countries and traditions. LDS Daily. You're muted.
Oh my gosh, what is this? Mormonism Live? Again, my dog was causing a problem. I was going to say, yes, that is the LDS Daily. Everything that we're showing is from either the church news itself or from a church publication, as we came across all of these articles. So let's go to our next slide. So this is just kind of a list. We found multiple articles and references on the LDS Church's $2 million donation to the First Americans Museum. We found a Wikipedia reference. When you look Oklahoma and LDS Church, you'll find a little sentence in there, a little paragraph talking about this amazing donation to the museum. And like I said, we did most of this research in the middle of the summer. I checked several of these articles and they're still there as of today, talking about this $2 million donation. So we know at least that the donation was made. That's what we were able to ascertain so far.
If there's one thing the church knows, it's how to put out information about a donation.
That truer words have never been spoken. That's exactly right. And I will say that when all the articles came out during the summer about the IAAM, these articles about the FAM also, would kind of show up in the feed. So I feel like they kind of had a resurgence of publicity for this one too, because a lot of them showed up when you search the other. Okay, so we've let you know what we have found. What didn't we find, Landon?
We didn't find a family history center.
We didn't find a family history center. Now, the grand opening was back in September of 2021. So it's been up and running for a couple years. But we started to believe that our friend who had given us the tip in the parking garage was really onto something. So the first thing that I did is I confirmed by phone that there was no family history museum at the First Americans Museum. So I just simply called the number on the website and I talked to somebody at the information booth, and she was very nice and she talked about what the museum was about. And I said, is there anything there that's like a place where you can do genealogy or you can search family histories or research or anything like that? And she said, oh, no, we don't have anything like that. And she actually said, I wish we had a family history center. That sounds awesome. So the person I talked to confirmed that there was nothing like that there. She had never heard of anything like that being planned. And she also said that would be really cool if there was something like that there. So check that off. We absolutely know there's nothing from someone in the museum, that there is nothing there like a family history center. So the next thing we did is we decided that we'd email the First Americans Museum, just off their website. They have a contact us thing. And we also, because there were so many articles put out by the church PR, we were going to email the church PR department. So Landon, of course, does all of our emailing, don't you, Landon? Because, you know, you're so diplomatic. No.
Yes. Yes. So I wrote this, dear so-and-so, I participate in several Mormon-related podcasts on a freelance basis, and I'm researching a question that it was suggested to me you might be able to help me with. Recently, a new article appeared in the church news about the opening of a family history center in the new International African American Museum in Charlotte, North Carolina. It appears that this family history center was made possible by a $2 million donation from the church, and that church volunteers help staff the library. I have also read the articles about the church's $2 million donation to the First Americans Museum in Oklahoma City in 2021 for the exact same family history center. This museum has now been open for over a year, but does not have the family history center that was promised in all the news articles associated with the church's donation to that museum. I am trying to find out why that museum does not have the family history center that was to be built with the church's $2 million donation. I have included links to both articles below. Thanks so much for your help, Landon Brophy.
Oh, that's a very nice email. And you did. You sent the links to the different articles. In fact, one of the articles mentioned the director of the First Americans Museum actually coming to Salt Lake and touring the Family History Center here and being very excited that this Family History Center would also be able to be included in the First Americans Museum. So there was a lot of back and forth, you know, between the church and the museum. So we thought between the two of them, having emailed both of them, that somebody would get back to us and just answer our question, because we're so curious, right? With our flashlights, we're so curious.
We actually tried to call them too to see if we could talk to them, and they wouldn't.
That's true. We did try to call them. So next slide. Yeah, nobody answered us back. We did not get a single answer. And kind of our hope in doing this podcast is that perhaps if we kind of get this information out there, that I don't know, a bigger reporter, somebody connected to a bigger media outlet might get interested, might contact some of these people, and that those people might respond to them in sort of a bigger media source, because they didn't talk to little old Mormonish, and that's okay. We understand. But we're definitely bringing the story out so that somebody bigger, you know, maybe one of the major newspapers like the Tribune or something could pick it up. That would be really, really interesting. So the next thing we did is we thought, well, you know what? We have a friend in Oklahoma. We have a very good friend who's a member of our book club and a Mormonish viewer in Oklahoma. And so we contacted our friend, and she said, well, I have family members with tribal connections. And in fact, I have a family member who was instrumental years ago. I mean, we learned that, you know, this museum has been in the making for a long time, was instrumental years ago in trying to get it before the legislature, to raise the monies, to get the process started. And so she said, I'm going to reach out to this family member. So there were some texts back and forth, and it was a couple week long process as she was reaching out to this person. And some of the first texts, the person said, well, I've never heard anything about a donation from the LDS church to the museum. I'm going to find out about this. And the person actually seemed a little, I don't know, concerned, would you say, Landon, thinking that's irregular? I don't know anything about this.
Yeah, absolutely. They seem concerned that, church would be giving money to
Yes.
the museum.
Yep. That a church would be giving money to a museum. That's exactly right. So then we didn't hear anything for a little while, and we kind of prodded our friend and we said, remember that question we had? Have you heard anything back? And our friend said, let me check again. And the family member just finally gave the answer. That money was returned. And there was no explanation. There was nothing more about it. Just that money was returned. And we kind of got the impression that they didn't really want to dig any deeper into that. So, right there, I think our next slide says our source, and this would be the Tribal Connection through a friend in Oklahoma, confirmed that the $2 million donation from the LDS Church had indeed been given back. So at least we know now everything that our friend originally told us seems to be true. Seems like there was a donation and it was given to the museum, and that the donation was given back. So then we were put in touch with a source who had actually attended the ceremony where the check was presented. And that was on October 17th of 2021. And this person is an active LDS person. And they had been in their ward and a choir. They'd been part of a choir. Isn't that how you remember our phone call, Landon? Like I said, so. we researched this last summer, so we're trying to remember. Oh my gosh. But yes, she had been part of a choir that was going to sing at the event. And it had been a lot of pomp and circumstances. I think it had been catered. It had been very exciting. President Nelson had given an address. It was a whole weekend of celebration. And so she absolutely confirmed that yes, she was at this event. Yes, Kyle McKay was there. And we have another picture there of a check being handed over to the director of the First Americans Museum. And it was all very exciting. Everybody thought it was really awesome, and they were excited for the Family History Center to be built. So then this person that we had contacted told us that after a period of time went by, nothing seemed to be happening with the Family History Museum. There was somebody else in her ward who was connected to the museum, I believe worked for the museum in some way. And so they were talking together, and this person said, oh, that donation has been given back. So we have another confirmation. There wasn't really a real reason, was there, Landon? There was some speculation. They kind of talked about how the different tribes sometimes, they will join another religion. So it could be that there's some Baptists that don't like the idea of Mormons giving money to a museum. There can also be
I don't think they'd have been upset if they just given the money to the museum with no strings attached.
Yeah, the expectation.
It's going to be for a family history center, maybe even staffed by Mormon missionaries if it followed the one the African American
IAAM.
Yeah. So I could see where that would cause quite a bit of stir.
Right. Yeah, there was a whole different level of different things that could have caused concern for it. It could be that. It could be, the idea of past treatment, all kinds of different things. It could be political reasons, all kinds of reasons.
Well,
nobody knew exactly.
It could also be that they don't like the idea of the church baptizing their ancestors into their religion. It seems very odd. That a museum honoring the first Americans would have a centerpiece of a family history center from a Christian denomination, which really takes away from the first American culture, it would seem.
It is a little different. Yeah. And I think the idea, obviously being able to access records and look into your histories was really exciting, but part of it was to share your information, like input it. And I think that's where they were a little bit worried, because once you input your information, then it is in that system. and it could be used for something else. So again, there was concern, and we'd love for someone else to look into this too and see if they can get more information on what exactly happened and why. But this is our second source to confirm, yes, that money has been given back to the church after the initial check was given back. So then we thought, okay, who else do we know that we can talk to? Because we're really thorough, aren't we, Landon?
We try to be.
We try to be thorough. That's right. We try not to speculate too much. We try to just get to the facts. So we have a friend that's very connected here, who is trying to build an interpretive center. He's a Native American, and we thought, okay, if he's going to know if there's somebody in the church that we can try to talk to. Like, is there an LDS church department that would have sort of facilitated this, would have organized this? Because again, we had emailed just the general PR department and nobody had gotten back to us, but maybe there's a person. So we contacted our friend and he said, oh, he goes, yes, absolutely, I know of this situation. And he said that years ago he had gone to this general authority's office. There's a general authority that kind of oversees this side of things, because he was our friend was trying to see if there could be a donation to his interpretive center that he is trying to raise funds for. And when he went into this general authority's office, he was talking very excitedly about this donation that was going to be made. This was before the museum, had opened, before it was made. And the donation was going to be for how much?
Yeah, 7 million.
7 million is what they were talking about initially. And our friend remembers that very clearly, because he said he thought, oh, wow, I wish I could get that kind of money for my project, that I'm working on. But the general authority was very excited about this upcoming donation. Of course, it was not 7 million. We did end up confirming that it was 2 million. But again, another source confirms that, yes, there was excitement and talk around this donation that was made. So I think now we've got 3 good solid sources saying yes. So even more emailing. We decided to take Landon's email and send it directly to this general authority to find out if he could tell us anything more. And what does our slide say, Landon?
Yeah, we got no response to any emails. We called the church PR department, talked to them. They never returned a call, as is pretty usual with the church when you start asking any questions that they don't want you to know an answer to. So,
don't ask.
Yeah,
that's right. So our slide says no response to any emails sent to the LDS Church or the First Americans Museum to date. So we haven't heard back. And so again, we throw this out there to any bigger news outlet who wants to ask some questions. If you're a person that somebody would answer, we would answer back to. We would love to find out more about this. So let's go to our next slide. So this is actually an episode just full of questions, isn't it, Landon? We have a slide up with lots of question marks over our heads. Yeah. Where does this leave us exactly? We're just posing the questions. It leaves us with a $2 million donation to the First Americans Museum, which was made on October 17th of 2019. We found multiple articles that reported the donation and that it was going to be used for a family history center within the museum. The First Americans Museum opened on September 18th of 2021 without a family history center. 2 sources with connections to the First Americans Museum reported that the donation to the church was returned. And this I think is the key right here. There are no articles reporting that the donation was returned. And I don't really know what the protocol is. I guess we'd have to ask a PR expert. If a donation is returned, do you put an article out? But I will tell you that our last point is there are many articles and a Wikipedia site still reporting the $2 million donation from the church. So I think those last 2 points are kind of where our question lies, don't you think?
Yeah, the church got all of this recognition for giving $2 million. It was all over in all the different newspapers, and it's still on the internet with pictures of it, and Wikipedia talks about it. It's all over that they gave $2 million. And yet when the money's given back, it's all hush hush. And there's, I don't expect them to throw a party and a dinner like they did when they gave the $2 million, but you would expect that there would be some article, or that they'd at least return calls when questioned about it and confirm the fact that the money was in fact given back. Because they're getting all of these accolades for this great gift they gave, and they ended up giving nothing that we can tell. And I guess the second part of that to me is if they gave the $2 million for a family search, family history center, and that was given back, couldn't the church have just said, you know what, let's not build the family research center, just consider it a $2 million donation to the museum? Is it really a donation when you give money to build a family history center that you get the names that they put in there, you get that, and you can now use it for family search and send that out there? You're now getting something for that $2 million that is of value to you. So was it even a donation to the First American Museum, or was it a way for the church to get what they wanted slipped in there?
Yeah, no, that is a very interesting point. It really is. And again, it also can be just very political in saying that it was just problematic for the museum on many different levels to accept money from a church. There's all these kinds of things that I'd love to find out more about. So yeah, I think there's more questions, of course, than answers. One question that we did have, if we go to our next slide, is what does this mean financially? Because we're always hearing about, the charitable giving, and that it's not exactly what it appears to be. If you give something and then it's given back, is that reported? How does that affect anything that they're reporting to everybody? So we reached out to our friend, Professor Spencer, who you may have seen on SEC reports on Mormon Stories and also on Mormonism Live. And we just kind of went through the scenario with him. He's an accounting professor, and he just kind of, in general, gave us some ideas of how it might look. Of course, he couldn't say anything specifically, not knowing the exact situation, but would you like to read that, Landon? Just kind of what Professor Spencer thinks, might be happening in this scenario.
Yeah, and this kind of came from us questioning the fact of, the church claims now that they give $1 billion a year to charity. And we're like, would this $2 million be included in that? And then would it be taken out the next year when it came out? And so this is what he said. He said, it isn't clear whether the church would have counted its donation to the museum in its LDS charities report. There is no evidence of cultural giving or giving related to family history in any of the charity reports I viewed. Because numbers aren't broken down cleanly in these reports, however, it remains possible the church would have included the donation as a humanitarian gift. Assuming the church didn't consider this a charitable donation, the church would likely have used tithing dollars. The reimbursement would have gone back into the church's tithing funds quietly. If the church did consider it a charitable donation, it should have been included in the charity report the year it was given, unless the reimbursement occurred in the same year that the donation was made before the charity report came out. Whether it was not included, and then taken out, or included and never taken out is a mystery. The church would undoubtedly have been under an ethical accounting obligation to make note of the reimbursement in the next charity report if it had been counted in the prior one. But because the church's reporting on humanitarian efforts are so aggregate in nature, and because the church has a historical predisposition towards only reporting positive news, I wouldn't expect to hear another word about this from the church. In fact, we know from the conspicuous absence of a retraction of prior church news articles about the donation what the church's policy is regarding transparent reporting.
Well, there you go. I think that's very well said. And it is just a big question mark, but I think we all feel like it probably just won't be clearly stated what happened.
Yeah, I'm not sure we'll find out. And obviously, for the First American Museum, you go out and you look for donors, and I don't want to say groom, but you find donors and you get them to donate to your cause. So when you give one back, you're certainly not going to state a reason that might embarrass the people who gave you the donation in the first place. So
exactly.
I don't blame the fam in not saying that, but boy, the church sure got a lot of publicity out of this donation, and they're still getting credit for it because they haven't said, oh, that, we didn't get that marvelous facility that Russell Nelson said that we were going to get.
Yep. That's the bottom line. So just a whole bunch of questions, but a very interesting situation. And maybe some of our viewers or listeners even know more about this. And like I said, I'm hoping some larger news outlet might pay attention to this and maybe get to the bottom of it, because I don't think there's anything, nefarious that happened. I don't think it's anything like that. I think it's just a situation where it wasn't a fit, and, funds were returned kind of back and forth. But, I think people would like to know maybe what happened from the church's standpoint. And I think we're just trying to shine a spotlight. Can I raise your little shine a non-working spotlight on
well, and I hope
story.
maybe other museums consider this before they take a donation like that, because
they could.
It very much could offend people to find out what this information might be being used for by the church.
Yep, that's a possibility too. So maybe we'll be shining a spotlight on that too for others. So that we got to get some batteries, Landon. I don't know. Maybe we can ask some of our viewers, can you send us some batteries? We got to have working props. I don't know why this isn't working. So anyway, it was really interesting to dig into this, and I hope that we hear more about it at some point. Maybe an article will come out somewhere or something about it. So we'd be really excited to see that. So please leave your comments. Let us know what you think about this story, or if you've even heard something about it. We'd love other people to get involved in maybe trying to figure out exactly what happened. Please like and subscribe to Mormonish. And if you'd like to be made aware of when new episodes come out, you can hit the notification bell, and that will let you know. And if you would like to financially support Mormonish and get us some batteries, we have links in the show notes to PayPal and to Venmo, and we sure appreciate all of our viewers that do support us, and just all of our viewers. We really appreciate all of you so much. So we'll say goodnight again. Thank you so much from Mormonish. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Mormonish. We really appreciate our listeners and would love to hear from you if you have a story you'd like to share. You can email us at mormonishpodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and on our website, mormonishpodcast.org. And don't forget to look for us on YouTube and like and subscribe. Keep joyful, everybody.